today I'm going to cover the brief overview about this, clinical SAS trial programmer and its scope. So what I'm going to cover? So majorly I'm going to cover the base SAS, advanced SAS, and clinical SAS programming. So in base SAS and advanced SAS, I will cover most of the basic thing which we need to learn in SAS, like basic syntax, okay, proc step, data steps, and what are the functions, then ODS system, then proc reports, different kinds of procedures. All this basic base SAS programming we will cover. In advanced SAS, we will mainly cover the SQL and macro part, and in clinical SAS, we will cover the CDISC part. Okay, that we require for the submission of our data to the final health authorities. Now we all know that in clinical trials there are mainly 4 phases, that is phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. So most of the data are generated in clinical trial phases are very vast, right? So we require one statistical software for the analysis. So SAS is one of the software that currently we are using in industry. Nowadays, apart from SAS, we also use the R software, and R software is freely available in market. But right now, 80% we are using the SAS software. Now, what kind of data are generated in clinical trial? So mainly the data are generated are interventions data, events, exposure, adverse event, lab data, including exclusion criteria, concurrent medications, disposition, vitals, subject characteristics, medical history, ECG data, physical examination, substance use, and questionnaire data. So these are the basic data that we generate in clinical trials. Okay, so we use the SAS software to analyze this particular data, and finally we convert the data into the standard format, which is called SDTMs. Okay, from SDTM we convert those data into the ADAM dataset, which are called ready to analysis dataset, and using this ADAM dataset we create the tables, figures, and listing. So ultimately we are converting our raw data which are generated in clinical trial to the final table, figure, and listing for the review purpose for the health authorities. Okay, now we will see what is the role of SAS in clinical trial. So now in clinical SAS industry, apart from the hard skill, that is our technical skill, we require a soft skill as well. Okay, like collaboration, communications, and problem solving activity. All this come under the soft skill. And our hard skill mainly include our technical knowledge, that is subject matter expertise. Okay, that is our SAS. So in industry, we require soft skill as well as the hard skill. Now this is the SAS window, how the SAS look like. So there are mainly the 5 window in SAS. First is your editor window, in which we write the syntax, our coding purpose. Okay, then second window is log window. In log window we can easily identify is there any error or warning or what in our program, so that we will identify in log window. And then explorer window, in explorer window we will have the libraries, okay, where we store our data, and the result window, an output window, okay, in which we will create our results and outputs. Now what is the role of SAS in clinical research? So using SAS we do the statistical analysis, okay, we create the graphics, we create the reporting. So mainly the reports are generated in form of PDF and Word file, that is RTF file. We create the randomization using SAS. Okay, also we do the SAS documentation and database. Now we will see the clinical SAS work process. Okay, so this is the general flow of clinical trials as per as the SAS is concerned. So now this EDC tool, that is as Vipra ma'am says, we use the EDC tool, that is electronic data capturing tool, okay, to create the raw data from the clinical trial site. We also use the Rave and Oracle platform. Now using this raw data, the CDM team will send the raw data to the SDTM programmers. Okay, now these SDTM programmers will use the specific guideline, which is called SDTM guideline version 3.2. So currently in market we use the 3.2 version to create the standard data sets from this raw data. After that we create the ADAM data set. Currently in market, we use the version 1.2 guideline for Adam to create the analysis data set. Okay, and using this Adam data set, we create the final TFS, that is table, figures, and listing. And finally, we submit this entire package to the health authorities for the review purpose. And health authorities will review this particular data, and then they will give the final submission, or you can say final approval of the drug. So this is a general diagram of the how we work in a clinical SAS industry. And in this particular CDISC module, that is clinical SAS training module, I will create a dummy project. Okay, so I will share you the dummy data, and then I will assign you some tasks. So we are going to create the SDTMs, ADAMS, and TFLs, and I will also share the syntax and code for that particular table, figure, and listing, and the data sets. So this is the general example of raw data, how the raw data will look like. So this is an example of demographic data. So demographic data generally include the information about the patient. So mainly it includes the start date and end date of the dosing, then gender of the patient, ethnicity, race. Okay, and using this raw data, we create the SDTM data, that is standard data sets. So it will look like this. And using this SDTM data set, after we create the Adam data set, this is ready for analysis data set. And using this Adam data set, we create the table, figure, and listing. So table will look like this. Okay, so this is example of baseline demographic data. So in which we have patient's information, which include the gender information, age information, age group information, right? So for age, we have calculated descriptive statistics, that is n, average value, standard deviation, median, Q1, Q3, that is first quartile, third quartile, minimum and maximum value. So everything we will create in SAS. This is an example of the listing, that is treatment emergent adverse event listing. Okay, it will look like this. And finally the figure. So all this thing we will do using SAS in our training session. Now we will see what is the scope of SAS in life science, right? So in 2022, the uh, current market of SAS industry was like 4.9 billion US dollar. Okay, and forecast in 2030 will be around 78.3 billion US dollar. This information I have taken from the market Polaris research. Okay, and the estimate growth rate from 22 to 2030 is around 5.8%. So you can see there is a huge demand of SAS programmer in market, and currently the awareness about the SAS is very less, right? So people are not knowing like what is SAS and what kind of work actually we do using SAS in clinical research. So it is a very important part of the clinical research, and very less programmers are there in market. That's why it is in huge demand. So I will suggest you to learn this SAS. Okay, and we will provide the industry oriented training sessions. So what actually we do in industry. So I also provide you the dummy project, and you will create the SDTM, ADAMS, and TFLs using SAS. Okay, so that's all about the our clinical SAS training module. So I hope we will have a great interaction and learning in coming days. So welcome to the Cliniminds, and hope we will have a great learning in future. Thank you very much. So if you have any question, then we can discuss now.